If you reduce the manifest form of Ishvara into orders, I said the psychological order is an order to be understood thoroughly. The human psychology stems from self-consciousness. And the consciousness of the self is 100%. Therefore, one is self-judgmental and also highly judgmental of all situations, implying people too. Therefore, a human being is highly complex being with complexes. It's not that one is prone to complex, the other is not. All are fraught with complexes. Any condition, emotional condition, one doesn't want to have, including a reluctance to learn, a reluctance to change, indifference to one's own self, absence of self-care. All these are psychological. And there is an order. If I understand the manifestation of Ishvara in a human being, in the form of this order, psychological order, every emotion one has is in order. Anger is not peculiar to one. Jealousy is not peculiar to somebody. Fear, apprehensions, self-persecution, fear of persecution, all these are different forms belonging to the same order. Why? Order means there is a cause for every form which is an effect. Therefore, every emotion has a background. The psychologist doing research in this human emotions discovers a certain connection, sambandha, between a condition before, a condition now. Before, mostly within 4.5 years, understand, of your age. This is amazing. That is the core person. Plus what happens later. The core issues control the whole emotional life of a person. And between these core issues and the obtaining emotional condition of a given person, there is a karana-karya sambandha. One cause, the other effect. Sambandha, a relationship. This relationship is Ishvara. It's not self-created. It's given. If the physical order is given, the earth is going around the sun, it's given. If a physiological order is given, as even biological order, psychological order is given. Given means it's a manifestation of Ishvara. And therefore, any whiff of emotion is not irrelevant, is not peculiar to myself. Freud was a great man. He was one of the modern rishis, like Einstein, Newton. These are all great Maharishis. Maharishis, rishis they are. Rishi because he has given us an insight about this much more clearly than anyone else before. But in our culture, there is this recognition that a talked out sadness does reduce sadness. An acknowledgement of what is swabhava, prakriti swabhava, nigraha kim karishyati. There is a certain truth about it. As order definitely makes you a person in order. My self-judgment is my self-esteem. If I look at every whiff of emotion is because of a cause, I am cognitive. I am really enlightened in this area. I need not even know the cause. That would be resorting to psychology and psychotherapy, psychoanalysis. It has got its own benefit. But we are not really looking into the efficacy of therapy, etc. here, or mode of therapy. But one thing there also is to be acknowledged, that finally it is cognitive. You accept you are not to blame. And so this self-persecution, self-judgment, one avoids totally with awareness that my emotional life is in order because it doesn't go out of the psychological order. It doesn't fall outside the order. It falls within the order. Therefore, Ishvara is very much in me in my anger. It's not I have to give up my anger to go to Ishvara. Ishvara is very much with me in anger, very much with me in my hatred and jealousy, in my self-loath, in my reluctance to care for myself, to take care of myself. In all this, Ishvara is very much present in the form of psychological order. It is something amazing. Carl Jung, spell Jung is J-U-N-G, Jung. So this Carl Jung was a great psychologist. Had come to India, studied India. He said, every emotion is accepted in Indian culture, what he said. It is all written in words, available in books. Every emotion is spiritualized. It's contained in a deity. Rama can be sad. Still he is the Lord. He is altar of worship. Rama is angry. Still he is the altar of worship. Krishna can be playful. Still he is the altar of worship. What does it all mean? It's all Ishvara's manifestation. The more you recognize it, the more you are out of it. It doesn't give a sanction to be angry. It doesn't give a sanction for hatred. It only acknowledges the fact that your hatred is due to a cause. So when I see the cause-effect relationship, I am aware of what is going on. I become the awarer of the relationship. I am not subject to that emotion. I don't condemn myself. My self-esteem is saved. Understand? If I look at myself being told by people, even spiritual people, you should not be angry. When you are angry, you do this. You should not be frightened. You should not be sad. This is not Indian culture. You welcome fear. When you welcome fear, you are not frightened person. Understand this? I welcome every emotion as Ishvara. When I welcome it, I am the welcomer of the emotion, welcomer of fear. I am not frightened. When I am afraid, I am afraid that I am afraid. I don't want to have the fear. Then every cell is frightened. I am frightened and I am afraid to others also. In that fear, what I would do, I won't even know. Even animals sense your fear. Their behavior is entirely different. When they are able to sense your fright, they are entirely different, their behavior. People tell me, those who have studied them, their behavior tell me that. I believe that. But one thing I'm clear. I'm a frightened person if I don't welcome fear. When I welcome fear, I'm a welcomer of fear. I am in the driver's seat. Emotion doesn't take me for a ride. I am not trying to spiritualize the emotion, honestly. I see the manifestation of Ishvara, and therefore I am in order. I have found an infallible therapist. In psychotherapy, you need to be validated. The therapist validates you. In fact, you cure yourself. You talk to that person. When you pay to that person to talk, you will talk. Then only you will talk. Otherwise, you won't talk. You need to pay. At a particular time alone you meet. Other times you don't meet. That's how that psychotherapy works. No other relationship. And you talk to that person during that period of time. When you talk yourself out. That person is trained, and therefore that person can help you see the connection between the past and your emotional behavior patterns. When he helps you see the connection, all that is locked up grief, the locked up sadness, pain, they all come out when one is in the couch. Everything comes out. Then one really helps oneself with the help of an external person, a qualified person. It's not a bad thing to talk to somebody. In the modern society, there is no uncle to talk, there is no grandfather to talk, there is no grandmother to talk. There is nobody to talk to. It's all nuclear. There is only a person to fight against. There is nobody to talk to, and therefore, how one is going to find oneself really being understood? So being understood becomes so important. Loneliness comes from being not understood. I am not understood. That's purely, yes, condition, psychological condition. From the past, as a child felt it was not understood. It was blamed for no reason. And therefore, the child still is there frozen in time. And therefore, it comes out in all situations. And therefore, what I say, when I look at the sambandha between one condition and the other, without blaming myself and without blaming anybody else also. In therapy, you have to blame somebody. Later, you have to reconcile with that person. But here, I don't blame myself or I blame anybody else. I just see an order. My therapist is not a fallible therapist. I go to a therapist because my marriage is on rocks. One person tells, he goes to a therapist, himself 3 times married. Really? So what kind of trust you can have in that person? Even that person validates you. That validation is as good as you validate that person. You trust that person. That person is a human being, has limitations. The person has to say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. All that one has to say. And naturally, therefore, that his validation, her validation doesn't work for me, even though it works in a certain way. Only to the extent I validate the person, that validation becomes valid. I need to be validated by the infallible. I have the infallible. Ishvara is in the form of order. It's not that God is infallible. Ishvara is infallible. No, the infallible is Ishvara. And that is because I understand Ishvara in the form of this order, psychological order, and this physiological and biological and physical order. And therefore the samashti, awareness of the samashti manifestation of Ishvara makes me in order. I have a permanent therapist with me. I need not pay him at all. Both mother, father issues, all the issues I had with my father and mother, when with this Jagatah Pitarau, the father and mother for all, and who is looked upon as infallible. You see our culture. That's why Jung goes on and on. All psychologists should learn from India, he said. On and on. They don't devilish any emotion. Neither they give a sanction. They just understand. It's the beauty of Ishvara understanding. You have a permanent therapist. Have a permanent therapist. More next time. Thank you.